Weapons. Weapons.
Weapons.
Weapons. So if you haven't heard by now,
Weapons?
Weapons is a horror movie that recently came out that has people very, very, very conflicted. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of liked the movie. I can't say that I loved it. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the meaning behind Weapons, the movie. Now, if you guys don't know who made this movie, it was a man by the name of Zach Cragger. He also made Barbarian recently. He was also in Whitest Kids You Know. If you don't know what Whitest Kids You Know is, you gotta look it up on YouTube. It's funny as hell.
The jizzle. Now, I know what you're saying. Kyle, I already got a cum rag at home.
Now, this movie takes place in a suburban neighborhood. I can't remember for the life of me which neighborhood, but it doesn't matter. It's in suburbia. Different people who are involved in a classroom of missing students, except for one. His name is Alex. And there is a whole deep dive that we get into. If you haven't seen the movie, maybe don't watch this video. Like, personally, I wouldn't watch this video, but if you are going to watch it, spoilers ahead, obviously. This movie just came out. And if you haven't watched it and you're watching this video, you're going to get spoiled. It's not confirmed, but there's two things that Zach Cragger has alluded to. This woman who is Alex's great aunt or aunt, it's not actually said if it's an aunt or great aunt, but it's alluded to that it's his mom's older sister, so I guess aunt, but she acts like she doesn't know him. Her is either a witch, a bell with Nordic runes, and like a tree that has some sort of power, or she's some sort of alien. And they kind of tease you on which it is. I like to believe that she is a witch. It kind of like seems like she's a witch, especially with all the Norse and pagan iconography they kind of use. Everything is saying like, oh, this is just an old woman who's a witch. There's a lot in the movie that you're gonna go, wait, this doesn't make any sense, or what's going on. If you take the director's perspective into account, which is that he had recently lost a loved one, and he was using this movie as a coping mechanism and a way to like process his trauma. This movie makes a lot more sense. I would take that into account when thinking about this movie. So this movie is about a class full of missing children. There's different people trying to get to the bottom of it. There's a nosy teacher who goes above and beyond, not necessarily in the best way, trying to find out what's going on with Alex and what's going on with the missing kids. They all disappeared at 2:17 a.m. in the morning. A.m. I know a.m. means in the morning. Don't at me. Fight me in the comments about it. They disappeared at 2:17 a.m. and then the first perspective is of a woman named Justine. She is a nosy teacher. She has an alcohol problem, kind of oversteps boundaries as a teacher towards her students. Now, because of this history of overstepping with her students, she's seen as the main culprit. Everybody in the town's like, you're a witch. You're doing this. And she really wants to get to the bottom of it and see like what's really going on. Where are all the children? They've all gone missing except for one. When we go through her perspective, she's kind of like starting to drink again because of everything going on. She shows up to the school for like a meeting, and then everybody's like, "It's you're doing this. Stop us. Give us our children back." Obviously, that causes her to like be super stressed and freak out, and then like the townspeople start chasing her, and the principal and another staff member bring her to her car. She drives away, and she goes to the alcohol store
I'm at the soap store!
to get alcohol, and by that I mean a gas station. She goes to a gas station and she buys some booze. So that starts her alcoholic journey again. Her drinking alcohol is not a good thing. Causes her to become more erratic than she already is, and she already oversteps boundaries, so that's not good. Some of these stories do overlap. For example, Justine's story overlaps with Paul's story. Paul is a cop in one of the scenes where Justine goes to the police station because someone painted witch on her car. You see Paul and she waves to him and he waves back, and then they end up meeting for drinks. later that night. This is like on the second night. By the way, it'll switch perspectives as if it's like all ongoing, but it's been months. Like months go by between these different like characters in the different scenes, and obviously there's some that are overlapping but some are not. Just take into account it's like 6 to 8 months. That's how long it takes for the story to take place. So during this whole time, Justine starts drinking and she starts scoping out Alex's house, which the principal's telling her not to overstep because it's creepy. You're a teacher, you shouldn't be going to a student's house and harassing them or their parents. That's it's not okay. But she's like weirded out and thinks that there's a deeper conspiracy going on, which there is. Like we've all seen the movie, there is a deeper conspiracy going on, especially with Alex. And the teacher's name is Marcus, by the way. I love Benedict Wong so much. Every role he's in, he's just like the goofiest little guy. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe him. He's amazing. She like peers into Alex's house once, and she sees the parents just kind of like sitting there, which is like super creepy. Like I'd be creeped out as hell if I just saw like two people sitting in the dark, and that kind of like confirms her suspicions that like Alex has gotta have something to do with this. By the way, when I first watched this movie, I thought Alex was like some sort of alien. I thought he wasn't a real person, or like what are those things that like replace children at childbirth? I thought it was like one of those situations, but it's not. Then we switched to, I believe we switched to Paul. Yeah, we switched to Paul's perspective, if I'm not mistaken. Now, in Paul's perspective, we kind of go through the whole like, he's a cop, so ACAB, he's about to propose to his girlfriend, but Justine invites him out for drinks, and he initially goes to meet her with no plans of doing anything, but then she kind of peer pressures him slash pushes his boundaries into getting a drink, and he's a recovering alcoholic, so that goes terribly, obviously, and then they end up hooking up, which kind of like leads to his girlfriend, soon to be fiance, going and freaking out on Justine on one of the other nights when you see it. It's hard to describe this movie. There's 5 different perspectives: Justine, Paul, James, Marcus, and Alex. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I think those are the only perspectives we really follow. They all matter in the grand scheme of things. But what it boils down to is classroom of students goes missing. We then follow these people trying to figure out, also dealing with the societal repercussions of a classroom of students going missing, until we finally, oh, and Archer. So it's 6 people. I forgot Archer. Archer's actually really important because he's the one who finds out where all the kids are going. Follows one of the cameras. He follows his kid in the camera, and he realizes that there's kids going like off in one direction, like because of a dream he had. Also, the dream sequences in this are amazing. They're creepy as hell. We definitely jumped at them in the theater. Just a lot of references to parasites in the movie, which leads to nowhere, which kind of makes me upset. Why have that if you're not going to go anywhere with it? If you're going to like reference parasites, have a payoff that has to do with parasites. But it doesn't have to do with parasites at all. It's just a witch. And you could say like, oh, the witch is a parasite because she's feeding off the life forces of the young, but it's not like that. It's just not a good payoff. Archer is definitely an integral part of the story. He find out kind of like whereabouts the children are like all headed, and then Justine comes over and helps him figure out that it's actually Alex's house. Everything go follows Alex's house. Now, during this whole story, these different like segments, you have weird things happening, like people randomly one person in particular, Marcus, attacking Justine. And when we follow Marcus's perspective, we realize that the witch, the aunt, the great aunt, actually did some witchery with Marcus, made him kill his own husband, and then made him try to kill Justine, which is really messed up. But it all boils down to this movie has to do with Alex. The horror is definitely great in some parts. Like I feel like it did classic horror with like the jump scares and the sounds really well, but I assume anybody going to watch horror in 2025 has watched every single horror movie ever. Um or like, you've watched a lot of horror at this point. So doing callbacks to classic horror with a little twist definitely doesn't have as much payoff. It doesn't have as much payoff as one would like in this day and age. There was just a lot of like loose ends that shouldn't have been there. They should have definitely worked on them quite a bit more than they did. Alex's aunt is a witch who's feeding off of the life force of the young. Honestly, the movie did have a lot of interesting perspectives. I definitely did like seeing like switching between this person to this person to this person to this person and James. So like 7 people. I think I said James actually, so it's like 6 people. James, which is a little crackhead kid who doesn't really do much in the main like scheme of things. This movie was all over the place, which is why I'm all over the place kind of trying to tell you guys about it. There's a lot of different perspectives that you have to take into account and how they kind of line the story up because it's not linear. If they would have like matched this with that and this with that, that would have been great, but because of the way they did it, it's a very convoluted storyline. So it goes children go missing, we follow Justine, and then during Justine's story, we see Paul, we see Archer, and they all kind of interconnect to lead all back to Alex. At the end of the last perspective that we get is Alex's perspective. Alex, who loving parents, and he goes and is about to go to school one day, and then they're like, "Oh, your aunt is coming to visit." And then they're talking. It's just like, she's my older sister. She has nowhere else to go. It's either here or the streets, kind of deal. And Alex is like, "Okay." And then they go to school. Alex is like waiting for his dad to pick him up because his dad picks him up every day, and he's waiting, and he waits for like hours, and his dad doesn't pick him up. So he walks all the way back home. His parents have gotten witched. Get witched, bro. His parents got witched. They're like sitting there cathartic as hell, just being like, "Oh, $19 Fortnite card." And she can fully control them. So she like takes a twig and there's like a bowl of water and she like breaks it and they start stabbing themselves and they're like freaks him out and he's like, "Stop. Stop, those are my parents. Stop." Blackmailed into doing whatever she says. And she's like, get me something that your fellow classmates love. All of them. Give me a thing. Give me. She does that, and he does. He goes and takes like they have like decorated name tags on their like backpacks and stuff. Go, and he steals all of those and he brings them to her, and she's like, "I'm a witch." She like uses it to lure all of them into the basement. What's basically it's not really a theory. It's like confirmed at this point where it's like she is using it to siphon their energy to be able to like move around more and her hair is growing back and stuff like that. So they're all in the basement. James at some point breaks into the house and then Paul arrests him. They end up both getting witched. Get witched, bro. So that sucks. All we follow all these people and it goes down to Alex's house 1v1. We're all fighting the witch. Well, Archer and Justine go in and they have to like fight Paul and James, the crackhead heroin addict. I think it's heroin. He injects it at some point. Crack? I don't know. Some sort of drug. They have to fight those two, and they almost die. And then Justine takes the cop's gun because since the cop is like witch, get witch, bro. Can't actually like use weapons. He's just like kill. That's all he's thinking about. So she like boosh and kills the cop Paul. Then she goes and kills James, who's about to kill Archer. The kid Alex is actually who saves the day because he goes. She's like, "Don't cross the salt line." His parents on the other side, and he crosses the salt line, and then his parents start trying to attack him. They're like, and then he like closes the room up, and then he manages to sneak around, and then manages to get in there, and she's not in there. He's like, she's like in the basement actually, and he gets in there, and then he's like, "Ooh, I can do the treat. I could witch people." So what he does is while she's down there and she's like, "Hey," to Archer, they're like fighting and then she like manages to get up. He takes all of the children's like hair and then her hair and then he takes a twig and he breaks it and she feels it and then all of the children start like going after her. And it's not a good horror movie. There's like 2 real horror sequences, but the ending of this movie made it so fucking worth it to watch. You have 17 children running after this grandma who's like balding, and and the way she, I hope I could get a clip of this, but the way she runs away from these children is got to be the most comedic thing ever. I personally genuinely don't think this is a horror movie. I think it is a outlet for someone to process the grief of losing a loved one. The reason it's 2:17 a.m. is because one, she wanted to take the children at a time where they weren't near their parents so it wouldn't seem as off. Two, his buddy, his friend, died at 2:30 in the morning, and he wasn't there. He couldn't be there. Like, there was nothing he could do. He just lost him. He's just gone, just like that. And it really like messed him up inside. And I personally think that this whole movie is just a way for him to process his emotions. Zach Cragger, by the way, not like one of the characters, but Zach Cragger is a way to process his emotions. And I think the payoff being just a witch, an old lady being torn to shreds by 17 children, you cannot have a better payoff to a movie. It was hilarious. Can't tell me I'm wrong. It was funny as hell. So, all in all, what do I rate the witch? The what do I rate weapons? Also, the M16 was really really dumb. Don't why would you why would anyone dream of that? That's like that's the worst iconography you could use. Like, you're telling me that old Norse pagan mythology had an M16 in there? Stop. There's like older weapons. You're ridiculous. Anyway, what I would rate weapons is honestly like a 6 out of 10. If we're going with horror, it's like a 2 out of 10. But because of the payoff of this movie, I would watch this movie again just to see that old lady get torn to shreds. It is the funniest thing ever. You can't tell me otherwise. Go watch this movie so you could laugh at the end. Yeah, you'll feel a little tense. It won't be a horror movie, but this is probably one of the funniest comedy movies I've ever seen in my life. Horror comedy, it just works. You know, The Monkey did something similar, except it was even goofier than that. You know, The Monkey was the goofiest movie I've ever seen when it comes to horror. And that's like a lot of gore and stuff. But weapons, please, for the love of God, go watch it, come back, and laugh along with me at this. This is essentially the reality TV trailer trash version of a horror movie with the most comedic ending you could possibly think of. For the love of God, let me know what you guys think of the movie in the comments. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.